Hello, friends. I am tired. I am tired. And if you're here, you're probably tired too. What are we tired of? We are tired of the boredom. My name is Miss Carol. I am a former career teacher. And over the years, I heard one prevailing thing from my students. Miss Carol, I'm bored. Miss Carol, I'm bored. I'm bored. This constant need for stimulation is truly getting in the way of our health and our healing. And it's no fault of our own because we live in communities, we live in cities, we live in a country, honestly, that has convinced us of our unworthiness, convinced us that we are not of value. So much so that we are seeking so many things to plug that worthiness in, when in actuality, there is nothing that we can ever obtain to plug that worthiness in. Something that we are born with, our worthiness and our value. There's nothing on the external world that will ever validate that. And I wanted to make this video because I came across a quote. I'm rereading this book by Marianne Williamson called The Divine Law of Compensation. And it was such a wonderful quote that I came across that I needed to say it plainly. The seeker isn't looking to get money, but to exchange energy. And, we have made consumption, getting money, our bottom line for everything, whether it's our education system, our healthcare system. I mean, honestly, the interactions that we have with and each other, our objective is to get something. However, when you are a seeker of information, when you are a seeker of wisdom, when you are a seeker of knowledge, you are not trying to get anything, least of all, not money. You are attempting to exchange energy because on a deep level, you understand your value. And since you understand your value, you know that your value could never have a price tag. So why are we so bored? Why do we need constant stimulation, constant excitement? Well, it's because we observe instead of focus. Now, let that sink in a little bit. Because we can observe pretty much anything. Our perceptions, our guides in this life are magnificent because we can perceive with our eyes, with our ears, with our nose, and we have an abundance of things around us to perceive. But to focus requires our entire attention. We can't just multitask. That is a facade. Multitask means that you're doing a bunch of things at a 50% level. It's mediocrity. Don't get confused on what multitasking is and what it is not. So the reason why we are so bored is because we have literally convinced ourselves that we are unworthy. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of working in environments with people who are saturated in unworthiness. I'm tired of living in communities with people who are incapable of receiving and giving love. And there are certain things that I can accept from children. I cannot accept this from adults, however. Once you are over the age, and I will be generous, once you are 26 or older, there are certain things that I just don't have the patience for. And I'm a pretty patient person. I was a teacher, mind you, a teacher of young children, a teacher of, sometimes I walk into a classroom with 35 4 or 5-year-olds, or I'd walk into a classroom of 35 to 40 12-year-olds all by myself. So I consider myself a pretty patient person. And it really comes in handy because the patience that is required for actual focus is necessary. But when you have not practiced being focused, that patience is going to go like that, like grains through, like sand through your hands. So if you give me the next 10 minutes, I will impart to you 10 years worth of wisdom that can really be boiled down to one thing, honestly, that will be the key to you stop complaining and getting out of your way of this boredom that we are just saturated with, that we are, we just create ourselves. Focus, 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 focus. We have to be empowered by the things that we focus on. However, we normally focus on things that are that are not good for us. We focus on things that haven't even happened yet. We live in such a scarcity mindset, and we get that from all of the noise that exists on our external world. We worry about cancer even before we even go to the doctor. We worry about, getting diabetes before we even go to see a doctor. We have this, hypochondriacness to us that just keeps us riddled with such anxiety and such, in such a place of panic that it's hard for us to focus on anything that is literally or figuratively in front of us, because that's what this moment is calling us towards. It is calling us not to focus on the things that are the bright, shiny things that are trying to get our attention. Anybody can focus on that. Anybody can observe that. It requires much, much, much more stamina and commitment and discipline and patience and compassion and kindness to focus on the things that are going to bring you authenticity, that are going to bring you forgiveness, that are going to bring you more meaningful connections with people. Because despite how you might feel, people want you. People want your presence. I don't know anybody who, wants to have a meaningful relationship with someone who has their figurative 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Nobody wants that. People want to feel like when you commit to something that you are committed to it, because you cannot expect to get something out of a situation that you are not willing to give to a situation. It's all about what we focus on, and we are neglecting our most foundational manifestation, which is our emotions. Our emotions are the landmarks, the signposts that we can use to get us out of whatever mental loops and emotional loops that we find ourselves in. And that's all that it is. And friends, if you cannot recognize, or if this is not making sense to you about mental and emotional loops that you get yourself in, then I highly implore that you seek someone that can help you out of that. Because this class, there are no victims in this class. I do not advertise that. I do not support that. If there are circumstances in your life where you find yourself and you cannot get out of that loop, I implore that you seek the help that you need, because we all need help. And there's no shame in admitting that, you know what, I'm a little overwhelmed right now, or as we used to call it when I worked in restaurants, I'm in the weeds right now. I need help right now. I am drowning. There's no shame in that. This channel is not that, though. This channel is about giving you the push that you need to get you on your path, to create the momentum that you need, to validate the things that you already know are true. None of the things that I'm saying to you should be that foreign to you. At some level, you should be able to understand them already. So focus on your emotions, because those are your first manifestations that are going to guide you out of your emotional and your mental negative thought patterns. The easy thing to do is to observe, oh, She thinks she cute. Oh, who does he think he is? Oh, I'm going to get what I can get out of him. Those are the easy things to go to. This world is so abundant when we give ourselves the opportunity to see it as such. But so many of us have just given up. We have just given up before we even allow the universe to endow us with the abundance that is innate within us all. And, you know, that was one of the things that I love the most about working with young children, is because they come here with such groundedness with who they are. I had a student who I will never forget. His name was, I won't say his name. 6 years old. It was 2021. This was online learning at its height. And this young child knew every single ocean, every single continent. He knew all of the states in the United States. 6 years old. He knew the states and he knew the capitals, and he could spell them. However, instead of cultivating that natural gift that he had for geography, what did we do as educators? We sat him down in front of a computer and forced him to stay there for 8 hours. Now, I don't know any adults who want to do that. I didn't know any adults who wanted to stay stuck in front of a computer for 8 hours a day. And you're talking about a 6-year-old child. When I think about him, my heart just aches, because I really hope that the adults around him really are able to cultivate that natural curiosity that he came here with, because they teach you. If you let them, the children will teach us. As the adults, we have to be the ones who become the students and allow them to teach us. But that requires, again, compassion, authentic acceptance, authentic forgiveness of ourselves. If you are finding yourself looking at what is, switch it and look at what is. For example, I am feeling uncertain right now. That's okay. This is not about pushing any emotions away from us, whether they're positive emotions or negative emotions. I'm feeling frustrated right now. Put that in your pocket. Put that frustration, put that uncertainty in your pocket. Use your perception to look around. Look at the birds. Look at the clouds. Look at a flower. Think of a time when you were happy. Think of a time when you experienced authentic joy. These things are not they are not difficult. They're simple. They are very simple, but they are not easy, because the easy thing to go to is the negative thing, and it's so reinforced everywhere we look on the external world. It is reinforced. Negative. Let's talk about the negative. Let's talk about it. But there is no amount of you focusing on the negative that will get you to the positive. That does not make sense. You cannot continually focus on what you don't want and then expect to get what you want. It's like, if you have a boyfriend or a partner in your life and you focus on, oh my goodness, is this person going to cheat on me? Are they going to cheat on me? I think they're going to cheat on me. I think they're going to cheat on me. And then lo and behold, what happens? You have to focus, empower yourself by what you choose to focus on. And we all have things that we can focus on. That's why I have these albums back here. This is a Donny Hathaway album. This is this is a Billie Holiday album. Things that bring me joy. These are pictures. I got this picture when I was in China. One of the first pictures that I got when I went to China. These are things that bring me joy. So when I find myself in my emotions, I don't have to choose to dwell on it. I don't have to choose to identify with it. We have to decide to be happy. We have to choose it with conviction. We need conviction. I often think about the gentleman, and I don't want to get into any political conversation about, the dynamics of the gentleman who hijacked the planes from 9/11 and crashed them into the World Trade Center. But the perspective that I think about it from is the conviction. Can you imagine the conviction that you have to feel to not only hijack a plane with a full plane, but then crash it into a building? That is some conviction for your ass right there. And yes, it was the negative, but imagine if the people who were on who tend to be quote unquote good people, if they cultivated that joy, if they cultivated that joy and happiness with the conviction of that person, of those men, think how much further along we would be in our consciousness. And that's what really scares these establishments. They know our power, but we choose to give it away. But you have to stand firm. You have to stand grounded. When you are focused on what's already manifested, it's like you're focused on the floor instead of what's in front of you. Remember, you have to be focused on where you are going. That's why I always say that this is a journey. This is not about a destination. This is where you are attempting to go to. And understand that you might not get there in your lifetime. You might not see it. This is about creating the legacy of the things that you wish to see in the world, regardless if you get to experience them tangibly or not. We have to think so much bigger than ourselves. We have to think so much wider than ourselves. I don't have any children. Just because I don't have any children, I have not birthed any children, does not mean that I cannot practice and hone my mothering skills. For one, mothering of myself, first and foremost. And for two, again, these children are paying attention. If you think that if you don't have children, that they are not paying attention to you, you are mistaken. They are paying attention because they need us to demonstrate for them what it means to be an adult. But how many of us are giving them the actual demonstration that we would actually want to see? We have to be empowered by what we choose to focus on. And this took so long. This took my entire 30s. I am 42. This was a process. But if you focus, all you need is 10 minutes. Focus. When you find yourself off, get back on. What's something that's going to bring me happiness? What's something that's going to bring me joy? What's something that I can go to, in my mind? If I can't see anything, if I can't taste anything, if I can't use my perceptions, what can I visualize that will bring me to a place of joy, of happiness? This is the biggest life lesson that I learned, and it took me such a long time to get there. This objective is simple, fast alignment, and nothing feels better than alignment. When you are aligned in your purpose, in your values, in your authenticity, it is like the world is your oyster. And, we all have heard that adage. We've all heard that thing of, the world wasn't meant for you, or the world is not here to serve you. Yes, it is. You are here to create the world that you want to see. That is audacious. That is self-esteem. When you recognize that you have the power to create what you wish to see in the world, not because it has anything necessarily to do with any special or unique talents that you have, just by simply being here. Again, when you recognize your value, when you know your value, you know that it is priceless. You could never put a price tag on that, ever, ever. I just was working in a I won't even say where, because it's not even that serious, not even that. And there was a woman that I worked with, and I have come across this many, many times. This audacity that I've had to love myself has been very innate in me since I've been a child, and it's only gotten stronger as I've gotten older. And it's caused a lot of butting of heads, especially in work environments, because a lot of work environments are riddled with passive aggressiveness and laziness and gluttony and just, seething with a lot of, you know, unhealthy behavior. And, I was working with this woman a few days ago, and she was so uncomfortable with me. She put her hands around my neck. And I was like, whoa, 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 miss. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I really have to separate myself from this environment because I am now not only mentally endangered, emotionally endangered, but now I am physically endangered. This person who I do not know just felt comfortable enough putting her hands on me because I have shifted whatever in her. And now I need to decide what I'm going to do. But that's where the rubber meets the road. When you and when a person or a circumstance has shown that they are not in alignment with your values, with your purpose, what are you going to do about it? Because it's not on them. Again, there are no victims here. You are empowered by your decisions. Stand on them. If that means you got to move, then you got to move. If that means you got to go to a different city, then go to a different city. If that means you got to stop talking to somebody for a little while, then that's what it means. Because, respect comes from you. You can't expect anybody to respect you if you don't respect yourself. You can't expect anybody to value you if you do not value yourself. It all starts from you. There are so many things that I could say. We are all seeking control. We are attempting to control our external world so that way we can convince ourselves that we have some control of our internal world. But there are so many things that are just uncertain, and we are going to have to be okay with it. Just like gravity. Nobody is like, arguing with gravity. Gravity just is. You have to accept these uncertainties in life as they just are. You are going to feel negative emotions, but would you rather feel frustrated or distracted? Would you rather feel distracted or peaceful? Would you rather feel peaceful or passionate? Would you rather feel passionate or desperate? We know which emotions are better. We know which emotions feel better. This is all about how we feel. Our emotions are our initial manifestation of what we are thinking, what we are vibrating out into the world. And if we cannot control our emotions, there is going to be little else that we are going to be able to control. If you cannot figure out how to control your emotions, nobody wants anybody that's just going to fly off the handle at any little thing. Who wants that? We all have stuff going on, And unfortunately, again, that's part of this dichotomy of us being bored, that we have gotten so addicted to the drama that when you come across somebody who is peaceful, it's almost like you don't even recognize it. You don't even recognize it because you're just like, who is this person who is like not trying to argue, not trying to complain, like just happy, smiling? Like, we don't even recognize it. And that is just, it just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that we have adopted this unworthiness, that we are seeking this knowledge and this wisdom, but then we don't have the actual skills to apply it. And none of this matters if you don't have this confidence to apply it in the world. Because as technology gets greater and greater, and already is, That has to be a demonstration of how deep we are willing to go, of how wide the technology is. That is how deep our consciousness needs to go. Otherwise, we're just going to be at the whim of whatever emotion is displayed at the time. If you cannot figure out a way to practice cultivating joy, happiness, appreciation from an authentic place, and being mindful of the scenario, because your authenticity in one situation is very appropriate and it's not appropriate in another. And I should not have to explain the difference. This channel is for adults. This channel is for adulting. But if you need clarification, please ask. I am happy to serve. I am humbled to serve. You know, this work is, again, it's not easy, but it is simple. And it's a mind shift change. We have to shift our mindset and stop believing that we are just going to poof and magic these things into existence without putting any work in. It's not how life works. It's not how it is, you know? But again, 10 minutes, that's all you need. 10 minutes. It's like, you know, when you have flown first class, now that you know, it's hard to go back to coach. When you get in that when you get in that first class seat and you lean your chair, your seat all the way back, and they give you those warm cookies, and you know you get a whole TV screen to yourself, and it swivels around, and you know, oh my gosh, it is hard. And it's the equivalent when you have found peace and freedom and joy and happiness. It's very hard to then reattach yourself to the negative. And that's why the negative feels so bad when you go back to it, because you've already experienced what the other side feels like. So it's hard to go back there. And every time you deviate, it's like it's harder and harder. It's like when you try and go on a diet, you know, you stick to a diet for a week, and then you fall off for a few days. And then it's like you have to start from scratch. But not only are you starting from scratch, you're starting from all the way back from before you even started. It's the same thing. But if you can apply it to one thing, you can apply it to everything. These things are not easy, and my heart is with you, and I will say this because I feel called to say it in this moment. You know, I love you. I do care about you. You are not alone. These circumstances of cultivating healing will make you feel like you are alone. And again, but this is a mind shift. It's about not being alone, but being with yourself. Being with yourself, enjoying your own company, not with anything that needs to keep you stimulated, not with a phone, not with even a book. And I love my books, but can you just be with yourself? Just be. No objective. Just focus. Observe. Focus. I am so proud of the work that you are doing, and you are going in the right direction. If you are here, if you are seeing this, if you are hearing my voice, then this is confirmation that you are on that path. Don't put my 10 years of wisdom in vain. All you need is 10 minutes. 10 minutes of focus on something that is going to cultivate your happiness. And I can't, there's no amount of explanation that I can give you. You have to demonstrate this for yourself. You have to create your own evidence in your life. Because you can watch video after video after video, but if you are not practicing these things in your relationships, at your job, if you're not practicing them, they are just going to be words. And words really don't mean anything. But please reach out if you feel called. I have resources that are available to you. Reach out to them. If you need deeper guidance, seek a therapist, seek someone who is professionally trained to get you out of this mental and emotional chaos that you find yourself in. Separate yourself from people who are not in alignment with where you want to go. I love you, my friends. You are doing the work. Check out this next video on authentic confidence, and I will see you in the next one. Be well. Be well.